Hello, my name is Matthias, and welcome to the FPL Scope and the weekly wildcard draft for Game Week 14, where I try to select what I think is the best squad to have in the Fantasy Premier League going forward in the next few game weeks and beyond. And this is a game week where I'm currently considering myself to use my wildcard chip. I still have it left. That's the only chip I have left. And I was originally going to use it in Game Week 15, but judged off of the draft that I made that I'm going to present to you guys right now, I am quite tempted to pull the trigger already, but I'm going to discuss that further both in this video and in tomorrow's video, which is going to be the team selection video for Game Week 14. But one of the main reasons that I'm considering wildcarding is because, as you can see above me there, I only have 5 out of these 15 players already. But yeah, anyways, I'm going to get into the whole squad, which is, as always, going to be presented the same way I always do in these videos, and that's by going through all the 15 players in my squad, with the number 1 player that I present to you guys being the player that I think is the most important player to have currently in Fantasy Premier League. And then the 15th player that I present, the last guy in the squad, is basically, yeah, the last guy in the squad. The last guy that made it into the squad, who is the player that I'm the most uncertain about having in the wildcard squad, basically. So yeah, you'll get the hang of it as we go along, but you probably watched this before as well, so you know the drill. And you also know the drill of the number 1 pick being Erling Braut Haaland. That is still my number 1 pick. He has been blanking a lot more recently. That's usually what happens with Haaland. He starts the season on fire and then he sort of slows down a little bit, but he's still probably the best asset in the game when it comes to captaincy especially. So yeah, I think he's still amazing. He has great fixtures, as you can see. Sunderland at home, West Ham at home. I think Sunderland at home is going to be a much easier fixture going forward as well than it has been so far this season. They are conceding more and more goals, and they are going to be affected by African Cup of Nations more than most teams as well, with a lot of players leaving for that. And also I think just like the whole like being back in the Premier League thing is usually something that like wears down a little bit as the season goes along. So I think that is actually a really good fixture. The next fixture against Fulham away, I think that is, and the fixture against Crystal Palace away, I think those two matches are potential places where you could go against Haaland with captaincy, but I think he's still going to be a pretty safe captaincy option for those 2 game weeks as well. So yeah, he's just a really good player overall. Of course, on penalties, he's a main number 9 for Manchester City. He's going to play pretty much every single game, even during this hectic Christmas schedule. They don't really have that many other options up front. Like Marmoush is leaving for African Cup of Nations soon as well. So I think Haaland's going to play every single one of these games, and he's going to be a good captaincy option in each one of them. So I think he's still a good option as the number 1 pick currently in the weekly wildcard draft. Number 2, we have Bukayo Saka, who's also pretty high up. He hasn't really delivered too many points so far this season. He hasn't really been worth his price, but I think that's going to change pretty soon. I think Arsenal are going to be more offensively minded going forward, especially in these easier fixtures, which they have against Brentford at home and Wolves at home. Brentford at home isn't too easy. Like Brentford have been a pretty good team this season, but I think Arsenal will still be able to win that game quite handedly, especially after getting a draw against Chelsea. But yeah, Saka just has pretty good fixtures overall. He has, not the word, especially the next 4 are pretty good for Saka. He is also the main guy for Arsenal, taking penalties, playing 90 minutes, which is also super important as we go into that hectic Christmas schedule. I think Saka's going to play pretty much every single game that there is. He's going to be the main starter for Arsenal, so I think those players are more secure to have rather than someone like Eze, for example, who's going to be in and out of the team a little bit more compared to Saka. I mean, Declan Rice is someone that you could go with, but I think I would go with him alongside Saka instead, rather than instead of Saka, because I think Saka's going to get some big hauls in these good home games pretty soon, and those are also the same game weeks where Haaland doesn't have the best game weeks against Fulham away and Crystal Palace away. So I think Saka could be a really nice option as a captaincy guy for those 2 game weeks, and I trust him more than I trust any other like main attacker, basically. So yeah, he would be my second best captaincy option, or potentially even first best in those 2 game weeks that I mentioned. So that's why he's like a pretty important player to have currently as it stands as well, and he's the number 2 pick in the draft. Number 3, we have gone with Bruno Fernandes. We have swapped out a Man United player for another because I don't really want to go with 2 Man United players, but they are looking slightly better, I guess, especially that second half against Crystal Palace. They looked a lot better than the first half against Crystal Palace. We're going to get to Crystal Palace as well, more so in this wildcard draft. That's going to be one of the key issues for me when it comes to wildcarding in Game Week 14 compared to Game Week 15. But anyways, Bruno Fernandes is going to stay for the long run. He is going to be probably playing more offensively minded now that both Mbeumo and Amad Diallo are leaving for African Cup of Nations pretty soon. The next 2 fixtures, Mbeumo and Diallo is going to be there, so Fernandes is not going to be able to get the full benefits of being like a number 10 or playing super high up the pitch for these games, but he still is someone that can contribute. He just showed that in the last game against Crystal Palace, 2 assists just from him taking set pieces. He's on set pieces, he plays 90 minutes again, which is super important in this hectic schedule. On penalties, free set pieces, 90 minutes, and he's always someone that finds a way to points. He's been really close to getting DEFCON points several times. He is getting, it seems like, 11 DEFCONs every game, which is one away from getting the DEFCON points, so he's pretty close in that regard as well, and I think that will take over sometimes, not just like slightly under every game week. He has been a bit unlucky in that regard this season, but I think the next 2 fixtures is the major standout with Bruno Fernandes and any Man United attacker really, but I think he's the more safe one, especially long term. West Ham at home, Wolves away, even Bournemouth at home, who are conceding a lot of goals lately. I think those 3 matches are just absolutely fantastic, and there is way more of a case to go for 2 Man United attackers than going with 0. So I think Fernandes is the main guy for Man United, especially with the long-term fixtures possibility, with him not leaving for AFCON and actually benefiting from people leaving for AFCON potentially. He is my favorite Man United prospect, and he comes in at number 3 for that reason. Number 4, we have Thiago, who could easily be even higher on this list. Maybe I should have switched him and Saka. As I was talking through Saka, I wasn't as confident as I was when I selected him. But I think like he is another one that could be. He is number 4 after all. Like that is a pretty certain player. He was pretty quickly into my drafts because he's been fantastic for me. I brought him in 3 game weeks ago. He got 13 points. Then he missed the penalty to get his second consecutive 13-pointer. And now he scored 2 goals again and got 13 points yet again. So he's just in fantastic form. Also, the fixtures are really good after that Arsenal fixture. You need to bench him for this next game week, potentially. But you could also, like, Arsenal have conceded a lot more goals lately, or comparatively at least. So he could still be someone that you play against Arsenal. That's what I'm looking at as well with my current team if I don't wildcard. But anyways, the Arsenal fixture isn't too bad in terms of like just benching him. Then you have Spurs, who are really bad lately. Leeds at home, which is a really good fixture, and Wolves away, which is also a fantastic fixture. So Thiago is someone that I would definitely have on the wildcard draft as well. Taking so many penalties this season. They get a penalty every single game, it seems like right now, maybe even 2 sometimes. And Thiago is still the designated penalty taker, which is nice that we saw this past game week after he missed a penalty against Brighton. There were maybe some like doubts about him being the penalty taker, but he's been really good at it apart from that one penalty that he missed against Brighton. So yeah, penalty taker. Again, also the 90 minutes is important. The main striker for Brentford. He's going to play every single game in these like really nice fixtures as well. So simple choice at number 4, Thiago there. Number 5, we have Yankuba Minteh. I think Brighton are looking really, really good lately. They have been one of the most informed teams in the league. They don't have Europe to contend with. They're even out of the League Cup, lost against Arsenal in that cup. So they have way less matches than most people have. And they're going to be able to adjust to this schedule easier than most other teams. And Minteh has been the main guy for Brighton. He's going to be the guy that gets the most points from Brighton as well. So he is someone that I'm really, really liking the look of. 2 home games now against Aston Villa and West Ham. And then you have Sunderland as well in pretty soon. Even that Liverpool game away has shown to be like not the worst in the past. Liverpool lost at home to Anfield 3-0 against Nottingham Forest. And Brighton just absolutely ran over Nottingham Forest this past game week, the following game week after Nottingham Forest beat Liverpool. So I think all the next 4 fixtures are actually pretty good for Minteh, and he is just like the main guy for Brighton, playing every single minute, it seems like, currently, for a really good team. So I think Minteh is also like a pretty certain player to have in your wildcard squads right now, and he's someone that I don't have as well in my team. He's part of those 10 players that I don't own that I wish I would have, alongside Saka and Fernandes for that matter. So yeah, a lot of these players are really good and people that I don't have, and that's why I'm kind of tempted to use the wildcard chip right now myself. But we'll get into more of why I might not use it also later in this draft. But Minteh is one of the main reasons that I'm tempted to use it, because I think, like, yes, Aston Villa fixture isn't like the ideal fixture, so maybe you could wait a week before you wildcard to get a Minteh. In my case, for example, but that's still a good fixture at home to Aston Villa when Brighton have been so good in the past few game weeks. So yeah, Minteh is someone that is currently on my mind, and he's a number 5 pick for that reason. Number 6, we have Jurrien Timber from Arsenal. Not the best game week for him against Chelsea. He conceded, and he also sort of was in the way for Gyökeres potentially scoring the winning goal in that game. So not the best game for him, at least like as a player. But as an FPL option, I still think he's amazing. The fact that he was in the box to score that final goal in the 90th minute, or in injury time for that matter, as a right back, I think that just tells you how good he is going forward, or how good he could be going forward. He is someone that can get goals and assists, and also, of course, playing for Arsenal is the most likely to get clean sheets in most game weeks, especially with the fixtures that Arsenal currently have with Aston Villa, which is a team that don't really score that many goals. We just saw them score, one goal against Wolves this past game week. Brentford at home and Wolves at home as well. Speaking of Wolves, who didn't score against Aston Villa, these are really good defensive fixtures. So there is a case to be made for having two Arsenal defenders, but currently I think it's Timber who's like the main guy. Both Gabriel is injured. Saliba was out this past game week. Calafiori was subbed off at the half. So that normal starting back four is a bit insecure in the moment, but Timber is someone that plays every single game week, and that's something that I think he's going to continue doing as well, because he is just so important to the Arsenal team, despite being a bit of a detriment to the team this past game week. But yeah, so good defensively and so good offensively. Timber is a pretty simple choice still. He's been my favorite defender for the past like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 game weeks, just about. I had to get away from the meme there, but anyways. Number 7, we have Nico O'Reilly from Manchester City. He's also someone that is close to taking the top spot for my best defender currently in the game. He just plays every single game, it seems like. Also, he's going to be even more secured in terms of minutes with Aït-Nouri leaving for the African Cup of Nations pretty soon. But even with Aït-Nouri now being fit and available for several weeks, O'Reilly plays every single game week. He's also a threat from set pieces. He showed that this past game week, getting an assist for the Guardiola goal. He was close to scoring a couple more times in the box. He's in the box. He's super offensive, getting assists. Playing for a really good defensive team in Man City, or like sometimes at least, like on their day, they're good in terms of keeping clean sheets. Man City, even though they have some flaws defensively, they are also really good when it comes to playing these easier matches and getting clean sheets in those. So yeah, I think O'Reilly is just a tremendous pick. Manchester City have really good fixtures overall. Even Fulham, who aren't that good going forward, could be an easy clean sheet, could be offensive points as well for O'Reilly. I think he has a lot of things to his game, and he's another player that I don't currently have in FPL. Another reason why I'm looking forward, or potentially looking to Wildcard this game week, but I can also, as you can see, his best fixtures are starting from next game week onwards. So I could wait and delay a little bit, but Fulham is also still a really good fixture. So yeah, he's someone that you would want to have currently right now as it stands as well. He is just a really good pick. He's going to play most games, like I've said previously. And yeah, he's just been an outstanding player who's undervalued this season, because most people didn't expect him to be a starter. From the start of the season, he wasn't even a starter in Game Week 1, but he's become a really vital part of Pep Guardiola's squad, and it seems like Pep trusts him a lot as well. So those are famous last words when it comes to Pep Roulette and Pep Guardiola changing with his team, but he's been pretty consistent with his best performing 11 this season. He's been like less roulette-y, I should say. This season, he has like a definite starting 11 that he's been sticking to, and O'Reilly is part of that starting 11, so that's why he's number 7 in this draft, or part of the reason why he's number 7 in this draft. Number 8, we have Nick Woltemade from Newcastle. I feel like this guy is someone that is just about to explode, like thoroughly in FPL. Like, he's been so close to getting massive scores. He had that one game week where they were down 3-0 at the half or something. I can't remember exactly which game that was, where he got subbed off at the half, which like put a lot of people off of him. That was also right after a lot of people bought him in, so the hype has died down a little bit around him. But Newcastle's fixtures are about to go really, really, really easy. Even now against Spurs at home this next coming game week, I think that's a really good game week for Woltemade. He's been having a lot of good chances. He's the penalty taker for Newcastle as well, and he seems to be playing 90 minutes most games if he hasn't subbed off at the half for some godforsaken reason. I think it was actually against West Ham even, which makes it even worse. But like, I don't think that's going to be the case going forward. I think he's going to play most games. Johan Wissa is still out. He's going to be leaving for African Cup of Nations anyway if he's back from injury pretty soon. So I think Woltemade is a pretty safe pick to have. He's going to have really good matches, especially that Burnley at home fixture, but even Spurs at home now, with how Spurs are currently really, really struggling as a team, and even fighting with their own fans. Their fans fighting with the team, and yeah, it's just a hellhole over there in Spurs. They're a terrible team anyway. I say that as a West Ham fan. But I think Woltemade is going to be really good this coming game week, and also the game weeks after that as well. Burnley at home, Sunderland in that major derby. That's going to be a game that can go absolutely anywhere, but I think Sunderland are going to be a bit easier to play against currently. But the main thing is also the fact that they have 3 out of the next 4 being home games. Newcastle are really good at home. They beat Man City at home just recently. They have been winning, like, I can't remember exactly like how many games in a row they won at home, but they have won a lot of games at home this season. And I think that's going to continue with the next few game weeks being at home, starting with Spurs this next game week. So I think Woltemade is a really good pick as well, coming in at number 8, and another player that I don't have currently in my own squad, as I'm looking to potentially wildcard this game week. Number 9, we have Malik Thiaw from Newcastle. The same applies for him when it comes to fixtures. He also scored twice this past game week, of course. We should have to mention that as well. That is one of the reasons why a lot of people are looking at him as a potential replacement for any defender that you have, potentially even selling Senesi to get Thiaw. I get that. That's something that I would like to do. That's what I've done in this, or like in the projected wildcard draft for me. I would sell Senesi and get Thiaw because I think that is a really good transfer to make, because obviously he has goal threat, scoring 2 goals in the same game. Newcastle are really good defensively and they have these really good home games, and Thiaw seems to play every single game as well in that center back line for Newcastle. So yeah, I think he's just a really good pick. He's someone that I really like the look of even before he scored the 2 goals. I think it was like a good solid pick, but especially now that he's completely proven that he is actually like an asset that can score goals going forward as well. He's just an outstanding player, and he comes in at number 9 for that reason. Could even be higher. Like, I think all these players, all the first 9 players here are pretty simple choices. Like, these are the players that were like pretty quickly in my draft, because I think the fixtures, like their form, the teams that they play for as well, all these are pretty good teams. Apart from Brentford, maybe that's like the worst team, or Man United, depending on how you look at it. But they're all pretty good teams with all pretty good fixtures, and they're all pretty nailed on as really good FPL assets for like a cheap price in some instances as well, especially with Thiaw and Minteh and Thiago for that matter, and O'Reilly. Like, there are just a lot of good picks here. So I think these like are the core 9. I do have some more like questionable players going forward from this point on, but I think these 9 players are just really tempting for me to have. And out of these 9 players, I only have Haaland and Thiago and Timber currently in my own squad, and that's why I'm currently looking to potentially wildcard myself, which I've mentioned several times now, which makes it more likely to be true, I guess, for me to actually pull the trigger button. Anyways, I'm still looking to potentially wait another game week, but we'll see what I do. Because as you can see from most of these players as well, most of their good fixtures are like the next game week. I can buy Saka this game week. But anyways, I'm not going to get into that minutia in this video. This is about the wildcard draft, not about my own personal team. So let's move on to the number 10 player, which is going to be Gakpo. And yes, he hasn't really done too much in too many of the last few game weeks, but that didn't stop anyone who brought him in on a free hit to get a nice 14 or 13 pointer or whatever he got. Scored a really late goal against West Ham on top of his assists early in the game to get him those 3 bonus points. But Gakpo is someone that has been playing the most consistently in the most consistent like top position for Liverpool this season, apart from Salah, and Salah didn't even play this past game week either against West Ham. I feel like Gakpo is a good option. Virgil was back this game week, but that didn't stop Gakpo from being the left winger from that team. I think once we get to January, he's not going to be as good of an option, because I think Liverpool might go hard in for Antoine Semenyo, who could be really needed for that team. Semenyo is also someone that you could have in this squad for what it's worth. But for me, Gakpo, just with the next few fixtures, especially Sunderland at home leads away. Those are really good fixtures, and then you can look to potentially sell him after that if you want to. Potentially at that point, for someone like, yeah, you could go with Foden as well. He's someone that I have considered, or Semenyo, who's going to be really good at that point going forward. But for the next 2 fixtures, I like Gakpo as like a short-term, short stopgap kind of player, and just wait and see if he continues to play 90 minutes, if he continues to produce attacking returns. He's just a really good player that plays a lot of minutes for Liverpool, and they have really good fixtures as well, especially in the next 2 fixtures, next 2 game weeks, I should say. So yeah, Gakpo comes in at number 10 for that reason, but I'm not as sold on him as I am with the other 9 players that I have. And the same could be said for the next few players that I'm going to talk about as well. Next one is Virgil van Dijk, also from Liverpool. It's just the good fixtures. Like, even the next 4 fixtures aren't like particularly like super standout, but after that they have some really good fixtures as well after these next 4 game weeks. So for the long term, Liverpool are really good, and I feel like Van Dijk and Gakpo are like some of the more secure minutes people that are actually affordable and you can trust in terms of playing time, potentially in Gakpo's case, and 100% in terms of Van Dijk's he's going to play. Anyways, this is what I'm trying to say. He's going to play every game 90 minutes. Konate would be more likely to be dropped, and he's someone that plays 90 minutes every single game as well, and is someone that you could consider. But Van Dijk, I think, is just even more secure as a starter. He's an even better goal threat, even better defensive contributions type of guy, and bonus points type of guy as well. So yeah, he comes in at number 11 for that reason, despite like Liverpool being a bit up and down lately, but they are at their best. They can keep clean sheets with the best of them, especially in these easier fixtures. So yeah, Van Dijk comes in at number 11. Number 12, we have Verbruggen in goal still from Brighton. Like I said, I think Brighton are a really good team at the moment. They kept another clean sheet now, I think, against Nottingham Forest, if I'm not misremembering that. They won that game 1-0, right? I have to double check as I'm talking about that now. But yeah, anyways, Verbruggen is super cheap. He's someone that is, they won 2-0 actually in that game. So yeah, he has kept clean sheets in 3 out of the last 4 game weeks for Verbruggen. The next few matches are really good, with 3 of the next 4 being home games as well. The same as with Minteh, of course. Brighton are in a good moment. Like all the things that I said about Minteh, playing for a team that is, in good form, with good fixtures, and with fewer fixtures than most. I think currently Verbruggen, especially at his price, is the best goalkeeper going. So that's why he's the number 12 pick, really. That's like the pretty simple solution. Also, the backup player that I have is Dubravka from Burnley, of course. He is just a cheap goalkeeper. I don't want to use too much money on the goalkeeper. I know people have looked at like a, Verbruggen-Kelleher type of rotation, potentially. You could see that with the fixtures of Thiago. He has Leeds at home when Verbruggen has Liverpool away. Could go with that, but I just prefer to spend less on the goalkeepers and just have the same goalkeeper consistently playing every single game week pretty much. Could also, for that matter, play Dubravka against Fulham at home rather than Verbruggen against Liverpool away. That is still a good rotation pair in those next 4 fixtures at least. So I don't really mind that either, but Dubravka is just a really cheap 4.0 goalkeeper that plays, and that's why he's the number 13 pick, as always, really, in this draft. Number 14, we have Kieran Dewsbury-Hall from Everton. He's just been scoring a lot of goals lately. He's been getting a lot of points in FPL in general. He is an attacking midfielder for a really good attacking team, or at least occasionally a really good attacking team in Everton. And he just seems to get goals, especially this past game against Newcastle. The goal he scored there was just absolutely magnificent. He is a fantastic player. Dewsbury-Hall is still only 4.9. He's a really cheap option that I would bench most game weeks, but he's also someone that I can just stash until around game week 18 when Everton get really good fixtures and you just have a really solid option for the next few game weeks after that. Someone that's going to play every game as a number 10 for Everton, taking more responsibilities probably, with Iliman and Jai leaving for FPL combinations. That could also be a detriment to the team potentially, so it could go both ways in terms of the value of the Dewsbury-Hall, but I think he's going to be an important cog in that team, and they always find a way to get points here and there, at least, like they did against Man United in game week 12 when they were down to 10 men and still managed to get a goal and a win thanks to Dewsbury-Hall scoring the winning goal. So yeah, he's one that you can just stash on your bench for a really cheap price, and he's going to be really good in a couple game weeks time. That's what I'm looking for with like the end of bench guys that I have. But of course, he's not that important because he's not someone that you would play in any of the next few game weeks. Maybe in Nottingham Forest at home, you could start him over someone else, Igor Thiago potentially, or could start him depending on your team as well. Gakpo potentially, if he's getting rested, that could be the case. But mostly it's just going to be a backup player to have for the future for a really cheap price. It's going to be really good and valuable pretty soon. Anyways, so yeah, he comes in number 14. Number 15, we have Mukiele from Sunderland. Fixtures are awful. He is a really cheap player. He's just someone that I want for cheap for the long term. Like, I don't want a wildcard. When I'm wildcarding now, I'm going to wait until like game week 30. I figured this out yesterday, like what exact game week I would wildcard or be likely to wildcard. I think it's game week 32, which is after a blank game week. Game week 31 is going to be blank, and game week 32 is going to be a normal game week. Game week 33 is going to be a double game week. Game week 34 is going to be another blank game week. So I think I'm going to wildcard in game week 32. So if I'm wildcarding in game week 14 and I have to wait until game week 32 until I wildcard the next time, I want my end of the bench guy, the cheapest possible guy that I have, or like one of the cheapest possible guys that I have, to be just good value in general. Not just for like the immediate term, I'm not going to use him that much, but for the long term, I want him to be good value. And I think Mukiele is one of the most valuable players currently in the game, because he's 4.2, he is super attacking minded, gets defensive contribution points all the time, plays for a team that has been good defensively this season. And for all those reasons, I've picked him, despite the fixtures being absolutely shocking currently. So yeah, he's just a long-term thing. You don't need to have all 15 of your players being amazing in every single game week. It is, of course, a plus. It's a positive because you get rotation here and there. You get injuries here and there in quick succession with the games coming thick and fast. Like, it is more susceptible for suspensions, especially with the yellow cards piling up and also the injuries piling up, the fixtures piling up. You need a strong squad, but you don't need all 15 players to have amazing fixtures all the time. Anyways, like Mukiele could also like all of a sudden pop up with like a clean sheet against Liverpool. Who knows? That could happen. So he's someone that you could rely on in case you need him to, but he's also someone you can just bench and stash for the future for when you need him in like 10 game weeks time, which you don't really know what's going to be the landscape at that moment, but you are probably pretty certain that a Sunderland, not Sunderland, but that Mukiele specifically is going to be a really good asset still at that point because he's really cheap and all those things that I mentioned already. So yeah, don't really have to talk too much about him. He's the 15th pick because it's not that important, like not that vital to have. You can always downgrade someone else down to him at any point. You don't need him right now, but I think he's also someone that you can just save your transfer for later because he's going to be a valuable asset at some point. So yeah, that was a long time spent on the 15th pick, but I just wanted to use that point, especially now that I'm looking to wildcard myself. I'm thinking like more thoroughly about it, and I just wanted to express those thoughts. I hope that was valuable to you anyways. But yeah, those are at least the 15 players in my current wildcard squad as it stands. I have some players that I'm like a bit iffy, like should I have them, should I have removed them, should I keep them, which I'm going to talk about some of them right now, because now I'm going to talk about the dropped players. You can see Mukiele is new, Van Dijk, Thiaw, Gakpo, Bruno Fernandes, and Woltemade, all with green names, which means that they are new additions since I last did the wildcard draft in Gaming 13, 5 days ago as I'm recording this. But six players leaving means that 6 players joining the team means that 6 players have left the team since the last wildcard draft. So I'm going to talk about those guys before I wrap up with the 3 players that were close to making the squad but didn't for one reason or another, that wasn't included in last week's squad, basically. So yeah, this past draft in Gaming 13, I had several players that have dropped out since last time. One of them was Daniel Munoz from Palace. Right after his 14-point performance, he and Palace played against Man United, and I honestly was a bit unimpressed, especially second half, with how they looked. I think that fixtures are catching up with Palace, and I think long-term I wouldn't want them, but this is like one of the main issues that I have with wildcarding now myself in Gaming 14 rather than waiting for Gaming 15. And that's the fact that they have Burnley away right now, Palace. But I feel like that is also a good opportunity for Palace to rest some players. They surely need the rest because they have been struggling a bit more when it comes to results lately, and also that second half performance against Man United should probably have some alarm bells for Glasner. So I'm going to be keenly aware of the comments from the press conference from Glasner and see what he makes of like his players needing a rest and stuff, because I think if Munoz and Mateta, who I'm also going to get to in this, I can actually talk about him now. Like if Munoz, who was the 5th pick last game week, and Mateta, who's the 9th pick last week, are likely to start and play a lot of minutes against Burnley, then it would be kind of silly to wildcard them out. But if they are more likely to be rested, it's an easy choice, because after that Burnley fixture, they don't have the best fixtures. They have Fulham away, which is not ideal. Then they have Man City after that. They have some tougher fixtures, especially going forward into the future. Sarr is injured. He's going to be out until after African Cup of Nations now as well. He's another player that I've dropped out. I had triple Palace last game week because I had a good game at home to Man United this past game week where I thought they were going to do better, and now against Burnley. But yeah, I am getting a bit more dubious when it comes to Palace. But of course, that's like one of the main bugaboos when it comes to wildcarding this game week. You could potentially wildcard out Munoz and Mateta, and then they get that massive hole like they did against Bournemouth, where Mateta had a hat-trick and Munoz had 2 of the assists to him in that game week. That could happen against Burnley. So that's why I'm a bit hesitant of leaving them out. But the reason that I have left them out is like the long-term future. I don't think Palace are like the main team to target right now, because they have had a lot of fixtures. They are piling up. They are struggling because of it. There's going to be more rotation. They are more just insecure prospects, and especially with Sarr also being out, I think that's part of the reason why they look so much worse in the second half against Man United, because he has been a really important player to Palace, and I think that's going to be a big loss with him being out with injury and then leaving for African Cup of Nations if he's back in time for that as well, injury-wise. So yeah, just a little bit more put off by Palace players. That's why Munoz, Mateta, and Sarr also with injury have been left out since last time, but that is also one of the reasons why I'm like really hesitant when it comes to wildcarding, because if Munoz and Mateta are playing 90 minutes, especially against Burnley, I would not want to wildcard them out, and I might just keep Munoz over Van Dijk, for example, and just, I think Woltemade is good. Like I would potentially have Mateta rather than Thiago for like a short-term thing, and then buy Thiago for Mateta the following game week against Spurs. But currently as it stands, yeah, I'm a bit confused on what to do with the Palace players. I'll talk more about that in the team section video tomorrow as it stands. But yeah, and Mbeumo is also someone that I would consider potentially keeping, even doubling up with him and Fernandes. That's something that I have considered. You could go with Mbeumo rather than Gakpo, for example, for the next 2 fixtures. I did mention with Gakpo that he's more like a short-term punt, so you could go with Mbeumo there instead. Mbeumo is also a bit more expensive than Gakpo, so that's also something I have to take into account making a team like this. So yeah, and Mbeumo is also a really good pick, but I think Fernandes is someone that I prefer, and I'm not sure if I'm still confident enough to have 2 Man United players currently if I were to wildcard. But that could probably be like a good decision to do as well, with West Ham at home and Wolves away in the next 2 fixtures, and even Bournemouth at home after that, before Mbeumo leaves for African Cup of Nations. I think it would be 14, 15, 16 against Bournemouth, game 17 against Aston Villa. He's definitely not going to play. He might leave earlier as well. That's another thing you have to be keenly aware of in these press conferences. Like, is there any indication that Mbeumo's going to stay for the next 3 game weeks? Then that would make it more likely for you to keep him. But I've dropped him out this time because I was a bit more unsure about him. He's a bit more expensive than Gakpo, who I preferred in this instance. Calafiori, I think it's down to the fact that he was subbed off at the half against Chelsea. Not quite sure what the reason was for that decision, but I felt like his minutes was a bit secure before that. But he was subbed off for Miles Lewis-Skelly, who's obviously a really good left back at his own right. So, yeah, just a bit more hesitant when it comes to Calafiori's minutes. He's been more rotated when it comes to Champions League, and I thought that was just because he got some extra rest, because he plays like a pretty hectic role in that Arsenal team. I still think he is the starter for what it's worth, but his minutes potential just took a bit of a downside, I think, in that Chelsea game. It could just be tactical for that one game, so I wouldn't be too fussed about it. Like, if I had Calafiori, I wouldn't sell him personally, but on a wildcard, I'm not confident enough to select him as it stands right now. And finally, Nico Williams. I think Nottingham Forest just looked a lot better against Liverpool than they did against Brighton. That might be telling us something about Brighton and Liverpool and the strength between those two teams currently at the moment. But I think I'm just not as confident in Williams as I was before this past game week, and that's why he's dropped out. He was even the 14th pick last time around, so I wasn't really too married to the prospect of having him in the draft, but I still think he is a pretty good value prospect for that matter. So yeah, he is also dropped out since last time. So now that we finished talking about all the players that are dropped out, this is a pretty long video, I just realized. I'm going to talk about the 3 players that were close to making the squad but didn't for one reason or another. So yeah, 3 players on the cusp. One of them is Michael Keane, who is sort of the same as Dewsbury-Hall. I wish I had the extra money available in the bank to go for Mukiele to Keane potentially, because like the short term or like medium term type of fixtures for Keane in game week 18 onwards are going to be really good. So you could potentially have some more value with Keane, especially around that time, which is like right close up to New Year when there's so many fixtures going on. It could be nice to have Keane with better fixtures than Mukiele has, and also like more potential playing for a better team, in my opinion, than Sunderland. That's going to be shown throughout the season, I think. I think Everton will finish above Sunderland this season. Also, just with goal threat and all the stuff that Keane brings as an FPL asset, that's why I was considering him rather than Mukiele in this draft, but Mukiele is cheaper, and that's why he's also slightly more preferable to Keane at the moment. Phil Foden is also someone that scored, of course, 2 goals. He has blanked in every single game week, and then when everyone free hits him in, he scores 2 goals. I'm not salty. That's nothing to do with my red arrow. Sure. No, but Foden is, of course, a really good player. Like, the main reason why people picked him is because he's been tremendous in the past. We know the qualities that Foden has as a player, and these 2 goals especially could be like the foundational point from him this season to get that confidence to be back to the Foden that we all know that he can be, because his playing time has been amazing. That's why people selected him on the free hit. It is a bit lucky that his best score of the season comes in the exact game week where everyone free hits. Of course, like, there is a bit of luck in FPL, but there's also a bit of skill in knowing, or skill, I guess, like knowing Foden is a good player is not really a skill, but like just selecting players that have been good in the past because you know that they can deliver. That's something that like FPL managers who have played for a long time knows about. Like, these guys can all of a sudden turn it up in an instant, and that's what happened with Foden this past game week. So yeah, he is still a really good option. The fixtures for Man City are really good, but I think I would still wait and see for that Fulham fixture before I like completely go into the Foden hype again. But he could easily be a really, really good prospect because he plays 90 minutes for Man City for like a pretty cheap price, because he had a pretty bad season last season, and City had a pretty bad season last season, but he is someone that could be potentially super undervalued. But yeah, just looking to see if this was like more like a blip sort of major performance that he had this past game week, or if he's looking back to his best and getting his confidence back and being more the Foden that we knew from a couple seasons back when he was absolutely outstanding. And then finally, the striker guy that I'm also considering slightly, especially like in the next few game weeks once he's back to full fitness, is Victor Gyökeres. He easily could have scored the winner if it wasn't for Timber sort of denying him that opportunity at injury time against Chelsea. I think Gyökeres looked absolutely fantastic in the last game week before he got injured, and I think he's going to find his footing in the Premier League, and I think he's going to be a tremendous asset by the end of the season. I think he is like super underrated. I think people, like even Arsenal fans now, are just like Havertz is our best striker and all that stuff, but I think Gyökeres has a lot of potential. He showed that last season when he scored the most goals in Europe, basically. He is a really good goal scorer. I think he just needed some time to adjust to the Premier League and all that stuff, but I think he has a lot of good potential in the future. But I think I would wait until that Wolves at home fixture before I go for him potentially. That's what I'm looking at myself when it comes to Gyökeres. But he's someone that I wanted to mention. He's someone that I am monitoring at least as a potential player to have up front. Merino just scored again as a de facto striker for Arsenal. And I think that's going to be a really nice position to be in, being the striker for Arsenal for these next few game weeks. I think Arsenal are going to score a lot of goals going forward. So Gyökeres is someone that I would consider as well in a few game weeks time at least. But yeah, This has been a pretty long video because I am considering the wildcard, of course, which I mentioned several times throughout it. I'm going to talk more about that in the team selection video tomorrow. I need to relax with my speaking. This is why I don't slow down, because I keep overthinking when I slow down when I speak. But anyways, I need to calm down sometimes and not talk too fast, because sometimes the words get jumbled up and I just sound incoherent like I do right now. But anyways, I'm going to talk more about these things in tomorrow's video, so I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to try to keep it a bit shorter than usual. I say as I blabber on even more. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video. I'm going to leave it there. Like the video, subscribe, comment down below. Comment if you think I should wildcard, or if this is looking like a good wildcard, or any other issues you might have with the wildcard. Tell me what you think about the whole Palace issue. Like, would you trust Munoz and Mateta for another game week? Or would you be just like, enough is enough, you need to do something with the team, which is, yeah, anyways. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye-bye.